so in love with you.
Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Now, the data is in, and today what we're going to talk about is how much of a house you can afford and qualify for if you're making $100,000. And I don't know about you guys, but I still think making $100,000 a year is a heck of a lot of money. However, in this new world of unaffordability, just how much house can that actually get you? And I'm really excited to bring this video to you guys today because I absolutely love making education videos. It allows me to empower people and basically give them the ability to understand just how the housing market works. And one thing that's extremely important that we'll talk about today is debt to income ratio. So I'll start out by explaining what debt to income ratio is exactly. Now, after I explain that to you, we'll actually work up debt to income ratio with calculators and use calculators to see how much of a house $100,000 can afford you. And don't worry, you guys, I will have all of the calculators linked in my description so you can come back to this video. You can access those links to figure out how much of a house you can afford based on your salary and debt. Now, after we figure that part out, we're going to hop onto Zillow and I'm going to show you guys what $100,000 is going to afford you, whether you're living in New York, California, or Texas. And after that, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of rent versus owning. In order for me to show you what $100,000 can really afford you, or really any salary for that matter, I first have to explain debt to income ratio. Now, debt to income ratio is an extremely important ratio that's used to qualify homeowners for a mortgage. It basically determines your ability to afford the house. And essentially what debt to income ratio is taking all of your debt payments and your proposed mortgage payment divided by your gross income, not your net income. Very interesting. Residual income calculations uses net income, but debt to income ratio actually uses gross income. And remember, the reason why debt to income ratio is so important is because it has to do with the amount that you qualify for a home. So if you can't get qualified for a certain amount, odds are it's because you can't afford to. Now, there's both a front end ratio and a back end ratio. Front end ratio is your proposed mortgage expense divided by your gross income. Your back end ratio is all of your debt plus your proposed mortgage payment divided by your gross income. Now, different loans have different thresholds. FHA, conventional, VA, USDA, all has different DTI thresholds. Here's our first calculator, the debt to income ratio calculator. Again, this is going to be linked in my description. If you're not using a loan officer or you want to check the work of your loan officer, this is kind of a good way to do that. One of the primary jobs of a loan officer, and really the hardest thing of a loan officer's job, is to accurately calculate debt to income ratio. So I wanted to show you guys basically how to fill this out. You guys can see I've already put $100,000 salary right here. Now you can see in this debt to income ratio calculator that there are additional sources of income like pension or social security, investments or savings, and other income like alimony and child support. But another category of other income is bonus, overtime, and commission. And generally, don't forget this, you need a 2-year history of either commission, overtime, or bonus to use that as qualifying income. So that's the income portion, but the debt portion is really one of the most important things. You guys can see that we need to figure out basically credit cards and auto loans. I am not going to put student loans. All I'm going to do for the sake of this video is we're just going to use the average credit card payment and the average loan payment to calculate our debt to income ratio. In order to figure that out, I'm using this article that was updated July 14th titled Average American Household Debt in 2023. Now, the key findings is basically the average person's auto debt is $22,000, but the important thing when calculating debt to income ratio is not the balance, it's always the monthly payment. So the average monthly payment for a used car, I'm not even using new, is $526. Now, the average consumer credit card payment is $430 a month. You guys can see that here with a balance of $6,320. So all I'm doing is going back here and I'm putting for credit cards the payment that we just calculated of $430, and then I'm going to auto loans right here, you guys, and I'm putting what we just found out, which was the average payment of $526. Something you guys can do is you can come back here and really kind of put in your own personal credit card payments, auto loan payments, school loan payments, and things of that nature to calculate your debt to income ratio before putting in your proposed housing expense. Now, remember what I'm saying, guys. I'm not putting in rent and I'm not putting in mortgage. I'm just seeing where I'm at right now. So let's hit calculate. As you guys can see, my debt to income ratio right now without a mortgage is 11%. And according to the debt to income ratio calculator, that's actually a pretty good debt to income ratio to start with. But that's not telling us how much we qualify for with $100,000. So I'm going to bring up a second calculator to do that right now. This is our loan affordability calculator right here. This is absolutely amazing. You guys can literally do this at home. Whatever your salary is, $150,000, $80,000, $50,000, whatever it is, guys, go to this form. It's going to help you figure out exactly what you qualify for. And it takes about 3 minutes. I'll set this up and show you guys how this works. So the first thing is putting the salary of $100,000. We're going to do a 30-year mortgage at a 7% interest rate. Now, the average consumer is paying $956 counting the credit card and the car. So I put $956 there per month. I'm showing a 5% down payment. You guys can see that here. I'm estimating property taxes at 1.5%. That's going to differ greatly depending on what state you're in. For example, when I lived in Southern California, my taxes were 0.75%. My house here in Texas has a tax rate of 3.52%. So your tax rate is super important if you want to get an accurate idea of what you qualify for. But I'm putting 1.5 here. Now for insurance, I'm putting 0.5. Now something that's really interesting is this drop down will allow you to either pick conventional loans or FHA loans. Or if you want to just pick a certain debt to income ratio, you can select that here. And I would suggest if you want to do that, you guys select 45%. The reason I'm saying that is these are the low end of the thresholds. The reality is for conventional mortgages, we can actually go up to 50% back end ratio, and FHA, we can go up to 56.99% back end ratio. So if you guys do want to push this a little bit, my suggestion would be not to go over 45%. Let's start with conventional first. So all I have to do, y'all, is hit this calculate button and we will know approximately how much I qualify for. This is absolutely amazing. Again, we're starting with conventional. Seriously, guys, how cool is this? So with today's unaffordability, someone making $100,000 that wants a conventional mortgage is going to qualify for around $243,000. That's it. Can y'all believe that? To me, that's absolutely shocking. And another thing I really love about this calculator, y'all, is it will break down your out-of-pocket expense and your monthly housing payment, which are incredibly important pieces of information because you need to know how much it's going to cost to close and you need to know how much you're going to be paying for the next 30 years. So when we look at this, you can see that the total out-of-pocket expense, if I want to purchase right now, is approximately $19,506. My down payment being only $12,192 because I only put 5% down. Now, the other really cool thing about this is it breaks down your mortgage payment as well. It's also going to add estimated annual maintenance, which I don't like that. But if you want a budget, it's actually pretty smart because the thing with owning versus renting is there's a lot of hidden expenses or unexpected expenses. Total monthly expense for the house is going to be about $2,349. Now look at how crazy this is. When I switch this to FHA mortgages, it's going to allow me to qualify for much more because FHA is generally more flexible when it comes to debt to income ratio and other factors of that nature. So we're going to go from $243,000, but now that I'm selecting FHA, let's see what we get. You'll notice immediately that FHA is allowing this borrower to get a loan up to about $300,000. So by switching from conventional to FHA, we were able to qualify for $57,000 more. Now, when we break this down, you can see again, the total out-of-pocket expense to close is about $28,932. It's going to be really important for us to remember that for the rent versus own portion of the video. When we look at the payments, the total monthly cost of the house is going to be around $2,884. So far, what we know is if you're making $100,000 and you have less debt than the average person, because remember, the average person doesn't make $100,000. So odds are those debt payments that I just went over are actually more. But based on the information I just showed you guys, if you're making $100,000, you only qualify between $240,000 and $300,000, depending on whether it's an FHA or conventional mortgage. Now I want to take you guys to New York, California, and Texas to see what we can find from $250,000 to $300,000. Starting with California, I'm going to Orange County. Here's how I filtered it: $240,000 to $300,000 for sale properties, and I've listed from low to high. Now, the total amount of listings in this criteria is only 22. So I only have 22 options in Orange County if I make $100,000. And look at these houses, y'all. It's 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 675 square feet. Again, another 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 770 square feet. These are both condos. Let's scroll down. This is just conventional. If I want to do FHA, I can now start looking at $250,000 houses. And let's take a look at some of these. Let's scroll up to a little bit more expensive. We can see they're a little bit bigger. So 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, about 1,000 square feet. Here's another one, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1,000 square feet. That's 289,000. Let's click this and see what it looks like. So this pretty much looks like an apartment. That's kind of a bummer. And also I want to show you guys that look at the rent. So Zillow's estimating the rent at $2,300. We know the mortgage is going to be around $2,800. That means that has negative cash flow if you have to rent the property out. To me, is going to tell me to pass. Now, when we go to New York, we have more options. There's actually a ton of condos in New York. I had no idea. Unfortunately, your view is of a brick wall, but it is what it is. You guys can see I went from 245,000 to 300,000, and I went from low to high. We have 1,200 results. So that's actually pretty cool. But look at where it starts, you guys. Again, just like California, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 800 square foot condo. And look at this one, 1 bathroom, 260 square foot condo. Is this for real? Are people actually buying this? This is insane. Let me scroll down to a little bit more expensive ones. You guys look at this. Is all pretty much little condos. Now there's one place in the Bronx right here for 247,000. Look at that's pretty big. 1,400 square feet, 3 bedrooms, only 1 bathroom, but 1,400 square feet is pretty big. Let's take a look at this one. You know, interesting. You can play checkers on your floor. That's nice. Looks like a pretty normal studio. Pretty interesting. You know, nothing immaculate. Let's go to the 300,000s and see what we get. So here's the upper end right here. We're still in the Bronx and they're getting smaller. So it really depends on the area. Everyone knows that. But here's a little bit nicer of a house. This is actually a townhouse. 1,300 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. That's in Monroe. I'm not sure if that's a nice area or not. And look at this, guys. It's actually a 1,600 square foot house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. So it actually looks a little bit better than Orange County, California. There are even some houses right here. You can see that. It doesn't look like they're in the best shape, obviously. Look at this. This is even a little lake right here. So basically, if you're making $100,000, if you live in New York, or Orange County, California, maybe you can get a condo starter house. But I'm about to blow your guys' mind because I'm going to show you what that same amount is going to get you in Houston, Texas. Here's Houston, Texas. The same filters are put in here. Look at how we start the search. Whereas New York and California, we're starting 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 700, 800 square feet. We're starting at 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1,468 square feet. The houses are just so much bigger here in Houston. And look at this. This looks like a pretty nice house. Same thing. 1,400 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 245,000 feet. Now, unlike California and New York, Houston has an overwhelming amount of humidity and bugs. So obviously location matters. Let's keep scrolling. Here's what some of the $290,000 homes look like. Look at this one right here, you guys. Almost 3,000 square feet, 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2,858 square feet in Houston. Again, this is telling us location, location, location. Let's take a look at this one. Look at this rent here. So no cash flow on this property. Let's take a look at it. Looks gated. Ooh, burglar bars. I don't know who installed that, but that does not look good. I mean, they must not trust their family, or they must be like an Airbnb, because like they don't want people to break in that are already inside the house. So I don't know. It's pretty creepy in my opinion, but look at, it is what it is. It is a big house. If you have a big family, here you go. And it's right next to a park, pretty big backyard. I mean, you get so much more in Texas. I'm sure like me, you hear an awful lot of realtors saying that if we are renting right now, we're ultimately foolish people and just making someone else rich. But the reality is much more complicated than you think. When we're in the situation when right now with quantitative tightening and interest rates in the 7%, meanwhile, home prices haven't gone down to a sustainable amount, renting can actually be a much smarter thing to do right now. So what I'll do is a comparison on how much it costs to rent versus how much it costs to own. Now, the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use this property right here, which is almost 2,000 square foot. This is a very nice house in Houston. It's pretty much upgraded. You can see the floors, the carpet, there's crown molding, the backyard is whatever, but this is the house I'm going to use. You can rent this house for $1,849. It's 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and 1,847 square feet. So this is the comparison I'll be using right here. Now let me show you how much interest you would pay on your loan for the first 5 years if you purchased a home for about $300,000. Now you can see the loan amount is $285,000 because that's after the down payment. Now I'm using 6.875 and 7.25 because that's kind of the range right now. And you guys can see basically at the lower interest rate of 6.875, you waste $95,000 in just interest in the first 5 years. Likewise, at a 7.25%, y'all waste $100,000 the first 5 years of that mortgage. However, you're also paying down the principal. So now let's figure out how much principal would we pay down in 5 years. Y'all can see here from this amortization schedule, I'm using a $290,000 loan amount at 7%. You guys can see that the interest is 58% of your total payments. Again, $404,000 goes towards paying back interest over the life of the loan. But I also want to show you guys this. In 5 years, you only drop the loan amount down from $290,000 down to $272,000, which basically is only $18,000 drop in principal in 5 years. It's really hard to justify purchasing if we're comparing purchasing to renting. Let me show you what I've worked up. So here's our rent versus own basic breakdown right here. You guys can see on the left, basically the out-of-pocket expense to rent a house is basically 1 month of security deposit. So in this example, out-of-pocket to rent is $1,900. You guys can see on the right here, to own $28,000 out of pocket. Now, when we go to the second thing here, the monthly payment to rent is only $1,849. To own, $2,884, so much higher monthly payment. Now, if we paid rent for 5 years, essentially we're wasting $110,940 on rent. Now, if we own for 5 years, we're wasting a similar amount of money in just interest at $100,000 in just interest payments. Here's a couple of approximate takeaways. If you rent, you're going to be paying approximately $1,035 lower per month, which basically gives you the ability to save $62,100 in 5 years. Again, it gives you the ability to save $62,100. Also, it's $26,100 cheaper to move in when we rent versus own. Now, the takeaways for owning is basically if you refinance, you have to start all the way over. So all of these cheerleaders saying just refinance later, just remember you have to start the clock all over again. Now remember, in 5 years, you only pay $1,719 in principal. And there's additional expenses to own. While as you rent, the landlord takes care of your expenses. If you own, you're responsible for things like the roof, the foundation, and the AC. Now, if you want to know how to qualify for more and how to reduce your debt to income ratio, some of the best things you can do, one of the most important things is to have no consumer debt. And if you think about it, the average person has about $6,000 in credit card debt, yet the average payments are $400. If you just pay that $6,000 off and you eliminate that $400 monthly expense, generally you get to qualify for a lot more when it comes to getting a loan for a home. Spending habits are just as important. Now, you guys know I use an app called mint.com. mint.com to monitor every single penny that I spend. By monitoring how I'm spending my money, I can rebudget and plan accordingly so that I can save more money. And the other thing, you guys, make as much money as possible. If you have an opportunity to make bonus, overtime, or commission, you may want to do that because if you have 2-year history of those things, you're able to generally use that as qualifying income for your mortgage, which will allow you to qualify for more. But other than that, guys, I mean, super depressing. $100,000 in New York and in California basically gets you a starter home shack, while in Houston, Texas, it gets you a ran down mansion. So I guess pick your poison. But other than that, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember to hit those links in my description. And if you're out there investing in real estate, you know I wish you luck and I hope you win.